Good evening. Hope everybody's doing well. I, man, it's another one of those days where tons and tons of headlines were coming in, and pretty serious stuff, folks, all around. I said that I felt like things were going to ramp up, but also would pick up in frequency, and it has certainly started doing that. So, absolutely bless us all. It's craziness. It is absolutely craziness going on. Man, I as I keep saying, and I know I'm stammering, but as I keep saying, I don't see an easy way out of these different situations. And as time goes on and as more things come out, wow, it's like we get put in even a deeper hole than we were before. And, man, I'm sure you've heard the news about some 20,000 documents dealing with biolabs, possibly the BioW word. And apparently names and the whole 9 yards. So that information's coming out. Again, it's not good, because the reason I say this is this isn't just between us and Russia situation when you're talking about biolabs. That starts involving the rest of the planet. And I do believe that there was a lot of countries that was in on it with us. But at the same time, there were also a lot of countries that had no idea of what was going on. So I think what you're going to see is a lot of scrambling happen in D.C. I think you've already seen a lot of scrambling happen in Ukraine. I think parts of it obviously have to do with people going on the lavish vacations, buying the houses and cars and all that stuff, thanks to the Americans' tax dollars, that is. So you had a lot of people, reshuffling with that, and I think you're going to see a lot of people do a lot of tricks when it comes to this biolab thing. I think you'll see most certainly a bunch of people that, just run. And at the same time, I think you'll see a lot of people that will talk. And I have a feeling that there's plenty more to come where that is. Let's see. I don't have any updates, really. Still awaiting the reward for the beta testing. Anxiously awaiting that. So, hopefully that is soon. I was told by the 3rd of February, so we'll see. But other than that, I don't have any updates for me personally. Just lots of news going on, and I figured we'd make it a pretty simple night. I'd jump on into it and get her done. Not in a hurry or anything, just, I don't know. The sooner I lay my head down, the better. So I've reached that age, Not necessarily that there's no will to live, but there's no will to stay up. The next step is no will to live. But anyway, let's pop on over. Government is Americans' top problem, says a poll. Well, imagine that. Americans believe the top problem facing the U.S. is its government, a Gallup poll published. Oh, wait, time out. Before I get all involved in this, I did ask Rosie the Rotor-Rooter robot. Yes, I am a damn human. Let me in. Let me in. I'm human, yo. So I asked today, once again, earlier this morning, I asked, write a monologue for the Watchman News show this evening. and I almost forgot. And so I wanted to share with you what ChatGPT thinks that I need to be telling you for the monologue today. This is crazy. Good evening and welcome to the Watchman News. I'm your host, Mike Callahan. Tonight we take a closer look at the current state of the economy and what it means for the average American. With unemployment rates continuing to rise and the cost of living increasing, many are struggling to make ends meet. The government has taken measures to stimulate growth, but will it be enough to truly make a difference in people's lives? We also delve into the ongoing issue of political polarization in our country. Political divisions have never been more pronounced, with both sides unwilling to come to the table for meaningful compromise. This gridlock has resulted in a lack of progress on critical issues like infrastructure, healthcare, and immigration reform. In addition, we will discuss the latest developments in the fight against climate change. The Paris Agreement, signed by nearly 200 countries, is seen as a major step forward in addressing the global crisis. But much work remains to be done to reduce carbon emissions and limit the damage to our planet. Yeah. Stay tuned for a discussion with experts in these fields. Now, you get me. As we explore the challenges and opportunities facing us as a nation. This is the Watchman News, your source for in-depth analysis and perspective. So that is what artificial intelligence says I need to be telling you today. Just in case you wondered. Anyway, back to the government. Why are you disconnecting? Okay. Americans believe the top problem facing the U.S. is its government. A Gallup poll published on Monday revealed over a fifth, or 21%, of poll respondents named poor leadership as the most serious issue, outstripping even inflation, which fell to second place with just 15% of votes. Yeah, I know, right? On both of those, AI, yikes, and they had to add the climate change. And, the economy yesterday, they talked a little bit more in depth about, the U.S. economy, and they made it sound like it was doing a lot better than what it is. So it is, you have to figure, I'm sure that it's pulling its data from mainstream U.S. news sources. So it's pretty crazy, though, that even AI can be propagandized. What would be funny would be is if that thing just started searching for information on its own and then started contradicting the scientist. That would be hilarious. But anyway, in a rare show of bipartisan unity, 24% of Republicans and Republican-leaning independents, along with 18% of Democrats and Democrat-leaning independents, agreed that government incompetence topped the list. That's pretty crazy. Inflation was number 2 on the mind of both parties. 18% of Republicans listed it as the top issue, compared to 11% of Democrats. Another 18% of Republicans were more focused on immigration, an issue which fell to a distant 6th place among the Democrats. Economic confidence remains at rock bottom, with just 2% of respondents describing conditions as excellent and 15% believing they are good. Nearly half, or 45%, think conditions are poor, while 38% rate them fair. The vast majority, 72%, see things getting even worse, though an optimistic 22% see the U.S. economic fortunes improving. Despite their generally dismal economic outlook, 64% of poll respondents said it was a good time to find a quality job in the U.S. The pollster's Economic Confidence Index, computed based on respondents' view of the economy now and predicted trends, remains underwater at negative 39, though it has improved slightly since peak inflation last summer. Approval ratings for President Joe Biden and Congress remained constant at 41% and 21%, respectively. Polling was conducted during the first 3 weeks of this month, during which Americans witnessed House Republicans' repeated failure to elect a speaker and watched Biden's spokespeople struggle to explain the growing pile of classified documents discovered in his various properties. Yeah, he stopped by to use the restroom one day and left some confidential papers. In a Gallup poll conducted earlier this month, Hunter went into a gas station to buy a condom and a gas station bathroom. Left another laptop. Anyway, sorry. In a Gallup poll conducted earlier this month, nearly 4 out of 5 respondents predicted economic difficulty. While 9... Goodness. Yikes. All of a sudden, the back of my throat got real scratchy real quick. Anyway, that's enough of that. We know government's the problem. Well, if you thought that the stuff involving the police force in Memphis was done, no. Apparently, the police chief, you know, the one that real quick like disbanded that, what was it, the Scorpion unit or whatever, fired the officers real quick, and I believe there was a couple of firefighters or EMS or something. There was a couple of emergency responders that I read a headline, I think it was out of AP earlier today. I saw the headline that a couple of those lost their jobs as well. I guess they were there when it happened. And there was a 6th officer that I believe lost his job, if I'm not mistaken. So, and then you got this. Memphis Police Chief Saralyn, I guess it's Saralyn, I don't know, C.J. Davis, had been fired by her previous employer, the Atlanta Police Department, for deliberately botching a sex crimes probe involving a colleague's husband, according to local news outlet, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Davis was demoted from major to lieutenant and then fired in 2008 after a city investigation found her at fault for taking no action on the case of a police sergeant's husband, who ultimately pleaded guilty to a federal charge of producing child pornography. 2 detectives claimed Davis had ordered them not to investigate Terrell Marion Crane after police found sexually explicit images of him with underage girls. His wife, Sergeant Tanya Crane, resigned before the department could discipline her. Davis challenged her firing with the Atlanta Civil Service Board and was eventually reinstated. She spent 7 more years with the department, later taking a post as police chief in Durham, North Carolina, before she was appointed Memphis' first female police chief in 2021. So anyway, who knows what that's going to turn into. So, by the way, I do have quite a few tabs open today. What, this is number 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, I guess. Not tons and tons, but quite a few. Yeah. Now we're going to talk about jets. Remember, 2 to 3 weeks. 2 to 3 weeks. Poland sets condition for potential F-16 deliveries to Ukraine. Poland will transfer F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine. What's next, by the way? Because I sit there and I think about this, and it's like, okay, well, we got the APCs, the personnel carriers, right? Then they went ahead and, okay, main battle tanks. They got the Patriot missile system. They've already had HIMARS missile systems. And so let's just say that they get the F-16s. What's next? Seriously. I mean, we're going to start giving them nukes? This is kind of crazy. Anyway, it says here Poland will transfer F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine, but only as part of a coordinated effort with other NATO partners, Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki announced at a press conference on Monday. Morawiecki and Warsaw coordinates all actions pertaining to strengthening Kiev's defensive capabilities with its NATO partners, primarily with the U.S., noting the recent decisions to deliver Patriot air defense systems and M1 Abrams and Leopard 2 tanks to Kiev. And just as it happened a few months ago with MiG-29 aircraft, if any other aircraft assistance would be coordinated, implemented, and possibly transferred together with other NATO member states, we will act in full coordination here, Morawiecki said. The PM's statement comes after Polish media reported last week that Warsaw had allegedly transferred a number of its MiG-29s to Ukraine in March 2022, disguising them as spare parts. While the U.S. and allies refused to provide Kiev with military aircraft, deeming the move too escalatory. Since Russia, well, then it's going to go into the history. Not going to read all through that again. But here's the thing. Now, in this lifetime, I've not been a fighter pilot. I'm pretty sure in the previous lifetime I wasn't a fighter pilot. But I do know a little bit about aviation. And I'm pretty sure you don't go on a little, 2-week training course to fly an F-16 and be able to fly the damn thing and be able to use all of its different systems, its weapon systems and all that stuff. Takes a little bit of training. I'm not going to buy it if they come out and say that, well, it's just going to take, 2 or 3 months to train these people. Now, mind you, they've been saying this nonsense all along about how long it's going to take to train folks to be able to operate this equipment. But if you've noticed, it doesn't really seem like there's that transition time. It pretty much, they just kind of slip it in and, okay, they're using it. So keep your eye on this, because this, the tanks are one thing, but now when you're getting involved with jets, that's a whole new level. And I do believe that you will see it as a very high priority to Russia to take out those jets. So we'll see how this pans out, but I don't see any chance at this point of this situation de-escalating. It's already, I think it's already gone too far. And while we're talking about jets, France won't rule out jets for Ukraine. French President Emmanuel Macron said that the idea of sending fighter jets to Ukraine had not been excluded as Kiev ramps up its campaign to pressure the West into donating combat aircraft to its military. Asked about the possibility of Nancy Reagan told us way long ago in the 80s, just say no. Okay, so maybe it didn't work so well for me, but try again, right? Let's see. Asked about the possibility of transferring jets to Kiev's military, Macron told reporters that nothing is excluded in principle, according to France's AFP news agency. The president added that Kiev would be forbidden from using French jets to attack Russian soil.
Macron was speaking after a meeting with Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte, who told reporters that his government saw no taboo around sending U.S.-made F-16 fighters to Ukraine, but admitted it would be a big step. So, absolutely. I'm not going to read the bit. It just goes back into the history of all that's going on. And, of course, Biden had a moment between diaper changes and ice cream cones to have a few comments about jets. Well, almost. He did soil its pants at the end, but he tried, right? He tried. The U.S. won't send F-16 fighter jets to Kiev, President Joe Biden said on Monday, commenting on media reports that the Pentagon was considering it. He had previously said that sending tanks to Ukraine would mean World War III, only to change his mind last week. No, Biden told reporters outside the White House when asked about the F-16s. According to Politico, however, some U.S. military officials are quietly pushing the Pentagon to approve sending the jets to Kiev. The outlet quoted a Defense Department official and two other people involved in the discussions. I don't think we are opposed, the unnamed official told the outlet, but added that no final decision has been made. Asked about the issue, White House referred to Deputy National Security Advisor John Feiner, who told MSNBC last week that the U.S. will be discussing fighter jets very carefully, and that Washington and its allies have not ruled in or out any specific systems. Let's see. Biden addressed the question while talking about a possible trip to Poland in the near future. Polish PM Mateusz Morawiecki said earlier in the day that Warsaw would supply Kiev with F-16s, but only in full coordination with NATO, while France refused to rule out sending some of its own jets as well. So, again, we know it's coming. It's worse than a bad B movie. It's worse, and they're all bad, but it's worse than a soap opera. It's almost like a soap opera meets Adult Swim. A geriatric Adult Swim. There we go. Russia names people behind U.S.-backed Ukraine biological projects. Russian troops have obtained over 20,000 documents pertaining to American biological research programs in Ukraine since the start of Moscow's military operation, the country's defense ministry announced on Monday. The most recent trove brought to light a number of key players in these projects who had previously remained in the shadows, according to the commander of Russia's nuclear, biological, and chemical defense forces, Lieutenant General Igor Kirillov. The ministry had previously published the names of people connected to the biolabs, which included representatives of the U.S. Democratic Party, Defense Department officials, and Pentagon contractors. The new list features people such as Karen Sailors, the executive director of Labyrinth Global Health, who reportedly worked in Ukraine as a lead consultant for a project that studied the spread of African swine fever. Also on the list is Colin Johnson, a fellow at the University of Tennessee and director of the Institute for Host Pathogen Systems, who allegedly studied the Crimean Congo fever and hantaviruses in Ukraine and was in charge of collecting biological samples from Ukraine military personnel. The ministry provided the names of 6 more people who believe that also have been involved in U.S. bioresearch in Ukraine. Kirillov noted that all the evidence pertaining to these individuals will be handed over to Russia's investigative committee, which will decide on appropriate measures for the alleged perpetrators. In his statement, Krylov noted that Russia's decisive actions in Ukraine have already effectively stopped Washington's bioweapons research projects in the country. However, he cautioned that the U.S. is now actively working to transfer the unfinished research to countries in Central Asia and Eastern Europe. Last month, Russia submitted data on illegal U.S.-backed laboratories in Ukraine to the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons Conference. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, that data included documentary evidence that work with components of biological weapons and studies of especially dangerous pathogens have been carried out in Ukraine with financial, scientific, technical, and personnel support of the U.S. Washington has rejected Moscow's accusations, calling them disinformation. Well, unfortunately for Washington, Putin doesn't listen to CNN. I mean, he might, but I don't think he trusts CNN. Probably watches it in the same way we would watch Saturday Night Live or something. Or Titanic. U.S. nuclear subdocks shut down over seismic concerns. Yes, Rosie O'Donnell moved to the West Coast. Oh, wait, no, that ain't the news. Sorry, Father. The U.S. Navy has announced the shutdown of 4 dry docks in the Seattle area on concern over the safety risk posed if a major earthquake strikes the region. The service is already struggling to keep up with the maintenance needs for its nuclear-powered attack submarines. 3 nuclear-certified dry docks at the Puget Sound Naval Shipyard in Bremerton, Washington, and 1 slot at the Trident refit facility in nearby Bangor have suspended submarine docking for further evaluation and upgrades, the Navy said in a statement. Let's see, 3 nuclear... Oh, I read that one. Officials didn't specify what the recently completed seismic study showed, nor did they offer an estimate as to how long the affected dry docks will be out of commission. The seismic assessment identified potential issues associated with the remote possibility of a large-scale earthquake occurring simultaneously with a submarine maintenance availability, the Navy said. With this new information, the Navy is taking additional measures to further ensure the safety of the shipyard workforce, sailors, the local public, the environment, and the submarines. Nah, they're just worried about the submarines. Believe me. Hey, the last tab I have open is good news. It's important because I know all of you have been sitting on the edge of your seat I think the dog is doing that now. And I know you've all been waiting for this. So, yep. White House reveals COVID emergency plan. The White House on Monday announced it wants to end the COVID-19 national emergency by May 11th. So, almost. Just a little bit longer. Just a little bit longer to stop the spread. Keep those masks on. Don't unmask yet. Because it's not over yet. It's not over. We got to make it till May 11th. Anyway, he said, though, that would entail extending it first. The plan comes after Republicans in the House of Representatives announced a vote on ending the emergency, and as the World Health Organization said, the public health restrictions ought to continue in some form. The current national emergency declaration is set to expire on March 1st, While the public health emergency runs out on April 11th, President Joe Biden intends to extend the emergency declarations to May 11th and then end both emergencies on that date. The Office of Management and Budget said in a statement quoted by multiple outlets, the PHE was last extended on January 11th. Too late, Republicans already announced we're declaring COVID is over and passing it through the House this week. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, a Georgia Republican, tweeted in response, the GOP is leading on this issue and Biden is trying to take credit. Meanwhile, the WHO published the conclusions of its emergency committee from a meeting held on Friday, which said the pandemic continues to constitute a public health emergency of international concern. So we'll see. I think it's ridiculous at this point. I mean, we already know it's nothing but charades, so have me a couple of quick vapes. We're really kind of running through here tonight. It's pretty quick. I go to bed and I wake up hoping that I've got reward money waiting. I can't wait. I don't think it's going to be the original amount that they stated. I'm hoping, but I don't think I'm going to get that lucky. Anywho, okay. Headlines starting from the ones I started putting out this morning. China's smartphone sales dropped to decade low, says a report. That's probably kind of something to at least take note of. People don't like putting down their phones, and that includes buying new ones. Germany warned of technical recession. Oh, really? It's news? I thought the economy was doing great. U.S. denies involvement in Iran strike. A Russian company offers $70,000 reward for destroying NATO tanks. Hey, does that count for us too? Do the tanks have to be in Ukraine? Go make me a little bit of money. Let's see. Ukrainian PM states timeline for EU membership hopes. Yeah, probably wouldn't do too awful well if I tweeted out pictures of a destroyed tank on a train in the U.S. I don't think that would qualify for the reward. It would, however, qualify for a very long federal prison sentence and being Bubba's wife. Let's see. Ukrainian PM states timeline for EU membership hopes. World's top-selling car maker revealed. Beijing explains U.S. role in Ukraine conflict. Erdogan questions Macron's competence. Russia becomes Iran's biggest investor, says an official. U.S. skeptical of UK military, says Sky News. Musk mocks left-wing think tank over Russiagate claims. Turkey pins hopes on Black Sea gas. At least 32 killed in Pakistan mosque blast. Moscow denounces drone raid on Iran. Johnson lied about Putin missile threat, says Kremlin. U.S. allies join export curbs on China, says AP. Tehran summons Ukrainian diplomat, says media. NATO hopeful says it can wait. Culprit in drone strike on Iran identified, says media. By the way, I have a feeling Turkey might get kicked out of NATO or something. Russian governor puts bounty on Western tanks. Our Polish economy slows as Ukraine conflict drags on. Scottish government does U-turn on trans prisoners. Scholl's office logging German FM's mistakes, says media. Let's see. Putin talks cooperation with U.S. ally. UK young adults worry they can't afford a family, says a survey. You think? Ukraine begins jailing draft dodgers, says MP. Britain gives Ukraine tank delivery timeline. New York City migrants refuse to move from motel or hotel. Imagine that. Imagine that. Let's see. Covered that. Moscow provides more evidence of U.S. biolabs in Ukraine. Ukrainian church contacts UN over persecution by Kiev. Ukraine will never retake Crimea, says EU states president. France, I covered that one. White supremacy blamed for beating a black man by black police. Let's see. Covered that. Ukraine responds to Iran over drone attack. Let's see. Covered that. And that's last one here. Brazil's Bolsonaro seeks to extend his U.S. vacation, says media. And that is, that's it. Exciting, I know, right? The love boat. The hate ship. Hey man, I'm just working on that new mixtape, yo. I'm gonna be like dropping that this year. It's gonna be fly. It's gonna be fly. Gonna hit it big. Gonna be on top. I'll crawl up the top of the house and be on top. Right before I fall my ass down and break a leg. Anyway, I am gonna get out of here. And you've been singing that song all day, The Love Boat? No way. No way. Or The Hate Ship. Which one? Anyway, I am going to get out of here. I hope y'all have a good evening, God willing. I'll be back tomorrow. I hope to see you then. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit. And shalom.